been pretty critical of Brawl in Overwatch 2. It has some struggles. I go into those in the video up over there that you can check out. But hey, here we see it's being used in the kickoff clash. Nice Reinhardt pin into a Doomfist comp. Worked out quite nicely. LA's got no qualms with running the comp, and if we check out the standings, London, they've been known to run quite a bit of Brawl, and they're not at the top of the standings, but they did just miss the cutoff for the kickoff clash. Clearly they've got something figured out. Brawl can't be in that much trouble if LA is playing some of it, if London are somewhat specializing it and doing pretty well with it. In fact, here we are, we can see it being played in the finals here, in the playoffs, and we look at this and, okay, well, the Reaper Zarya team is ready to engage, and nothing happens. And what gives? Well, maybe that's a one-off. Maybe if we look at a different matchup, we can see it's actually them again in an earlier round. We see Reinhardt versus this Reaper Zarya here. Surely this time it'll be fine, right? It'll be fine. We'll just get our standard Dallas Fuel engagement, which we've also done stuff on, where it'll be the Reaper TP in, has a bubble, Zarya runs in, joins them, Sparkle has an angle here, be it on Soldier, Genji, Echo, whatever, does some of that there, and the team moves in during the sort of tanking Reaper, and there's two bubbles available, and it's really good, right? Right? That's been pretty good against the dive teams, the Winston stuff, the Doomfist stuff. It's not working. Dallas can't really close and start the fight, and they actually lose in the poke phase, in that case, and they also lose in the Brawl phase. It might not seem like it, but you look at this and go, hey, this Dallas comp, this Zarya Reaper stuff is pretty good against the dive stuff because it has pretty good mobility while also having a stronger Brawl phase than the dive comps, than the Winston comps it's playing against, where it might be Winston, Genji, Soldier, that sort of thing. It's got stronger Brawl because of that Reaper Zarya. Okay, makes sense to me. But it doesn't have stronger Brawl than a regular Brawl comp does. Where the Reaper plus Zarya, Reaper plus Zarya, that's not actually better than Reinhardt. Reinhardt is kind of better than that as a frontline. And even if you didn't have this Mei here, Reinhardt is kind of better than that as a frontline. Now, is Reinhardt really better than a 1v2? No, but he can hold down that frontline quite nicely. He can ignore a bubbled Reaper with his shield up for a moment. He can swing into them when they don't. He can bully the Zarya if the Zarya is trying to come in there. It's a pretty good matchup for them. And the Dallas comp or the Zarya Reaper stuff can't do what a regular dive comp has to do in order to beat this Brawl comp. They can't spread out and go, hey, let's send one DPS on this angle, one DPS on this angle, our tank down here. No, Reaper's just not threatening shooting into a stacked up Brawl comp that you might be looking at from the Gladiators or London or whoever here. So does that mean that, like, well, why not? I mean, like, the Gladiators comp can't take angles very well either. Well, they can, sort of. They would lose, don't get me wrong, on this Brawl comp to a more divey comp, to a Soldier, Genji, Winston comp, to that sort of thing. Like, that could be driven better than the Brawl, but Brawl comps, or at least Reinhardt comps, have sort of found their place as a, hey, we're better at least into these Zarya Reaper comps. So does that mean that they're going to be a long-term fixture in the meta? I still have some questions. I'm still kind of doubtful that the concept of Brawl, the concept of we can take this fight slow, we can do this, we can win with the angles, sustain our angles, or we can turtle for objective pressure is going to work because, again, that dive stuff does still beat it by taking angles and sustaining, generally by picking apart the Mei or the Sim or the Reaper, whoever you would put in this slot. It's just that the Dallas comp or the Reaper comp can't do this because Reaper isn't actually that good a hero, just being dragged into the meta by the Zarya there. But that's how I look at this. It's really not the best thing in the world. I don't actually think this Dallas comp is going to stick around super, super long. I don't have to call it the Dallas comp, but the Reaper Zarya thing is going to stick around all that long. And I think when it fails to stick around, we'll probably see Brawl comps will fall off themselves. Now, there could be an exception to that. You could look at this and say, no, we're actually going to hold on to Reinhardt comps just fine. And that I'd actually agree with. Reinhardt seems to be just fine, but Reinhardt is just fine in a world where he is a bulkier, less vertical mobility Winston, as opposed to a world where you're actually playing any level of Brawl, where you want these slower fights, where you're playing for angles, where you're turtling on, for objective control. All of those things are mostly gone and just worse than before. But if you don't have much verticality, the shorter cooldown on his charge, the more control over his charge, him just having more bulk and strength than Winston in that close range fight can work pretty well if he could get a decent DPS here to go with him. And again, Mei, Reaper, and Sim really don't look to be that. You're probably looking at a more mobile type divey hero, at which point, again, you're really playing Reinhardt dive or maybe rush rather than Brawl. But let me know what you guys think. Are you looking at this and saying, oh no, well, that's good to hear. It's fine to play Reinhardt as long as it just means we have to go fast. We can't really play for angles and, we'll just have to hope that people can't get away from us sort of thing? Or do you look at this and still go, well, that's not fun. I wanted to play the slow, more methodical style. And if Reinhardt can't do that, it doesn't really work for me. Or maybe you think this Zarya comp is going to stick around a ton. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below. If you're enjoying the content, drop a like, consider subscribing for more thought-provoking Overwatch and Overwatch 2 content, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Temporal out.